Good evening. I am spending a few moments with you so that I can share my observations about my capstone project journey through challenge-based research from beginning to now. As you can see, I'm a little bit more relaxed now here in my rented chalet in Second Life, but my process to this point was far from relaxing. Since my twists and turns of my CBI seem to mirror those of a very lengthy trip, my journey through professional development will be shared as such, a metaphor of a world trip to chronicle the travels. Let's go. I started here learning at Casa de Wiley about the literature review, which is the backbone of my research's credibility. Around this time, I decided I was going to research professional development and engaging professionals, educators, if you will, with media-rich professional development. It's here where I learned about Second Life with Dr. Wiley and the multiple ways in which it will play into my presentations at Full Sail. I've had multiple team meetings and class meetings here in MLR and other EMDT courses. Later I'd use this media to get into the concept of machinima with Kathy Craven, which makes much of this movie possible. Before I enrolled in EMDT, I was employed at a 51% computer-based alternative high school program, which had access to but did not seem to be doing much with the resources past the interface. This combined with my enthusiasm for the technology and my own desire to learn how to more effectively use emerging technologies made the challenge choice for me. In addition, the opportunity allowed me to address my own feelings of being behind the curve with regards to technology and professional development by looking into the resources that may also serve me later on. It seemed to me that the audience was picture perfect for CBI participants. All I had to do is figure out how to piece this thing together. Regarding my literature review, it seemed to me that in many ways the CBI data confirm my literature or mirrors many of the proposed professional development solutions of the literature I reviewed. Among the parallels noticed in my CBI, time more than pricing and implementation of training were the determining factor for much of the participants' level of participation or lack thereof. Professional development training needs to occur through experiences in real-life environments and over time for significant learning to take place. Educators almost always had issues of designating free time to learn new technologies relevant and applicable to existing subject area curriculum. Teachers need help to understand how technology connected teaching the content and changing the instructional use of computers. Building on professional development experiences depended on understanding the practices needed to teach and use the technology. Addressing educators' needs involves ensuring the training addressed current and relevant needs. There were two examples of professional development implementation also proposed in the literature that were similar in approach to the way that my CBI evolved. Collaborative learning, which allowed an active group of learners to collaborate and share learning and resources with one another instead of waiting on experts to come in and teach it. And online communities of practice, which are used to increase communication and collaboration among teachers through online groups of learning. The access to all of the learning resources and feedback of each participant in the CBI was visible to all participants who had access to the CBI blog. Though this cross-learning was not actively encouraged or collaborative, it was a very beneficial resource and could be explored given the central location of all the professional development data resources and contact to each educator. In addition, their very existence serves as a good start for a potential online community of practice. I believe my data could serve as a confirmation of the need to do further research into the previously mentioned approaches to see how well they will affect professional development. When I started the actual design and development of the capstone, I started using pre-surveys to collect data from the Google Docs interface, learned initially with Dr. Wiley and then more in detail with Dr. Deason. I started exclusively interacting with my former teaching staff at Dropback In Academy with about 10 educators. I should have saw the writing on the wall when I had trouble getting surveys filled out, but I didn't, and one by one I lost DBI staff. During that time, I also reached out to the staffing team at my son's high school. I contacted the principal to get permission, got a nice letter from Dr. DeLeon and written up, And in the end, I only got one teacher to participate. She did my survey. I contacted a couple of educators back home in Michigan, one in Memphis. In the end, I had 16 surveyed, at least one surveyed twice, but no challenges. I contacted Dr. Dillion as time was getting away from me, and even I could hear the terror in my voice when I talked. Toward the tail end of my first phase, I thought of the possibility of using CBI participants who are the EMDT students. It stands to reason that that would be feasible since most of my colleagues were classroom teachers anyway. Once I ran the idea past Dr. Roxanne and got her approval, I felt like I was on the road again. Since there was some level of camaraderie with my classmates, I thought this is going to be much easier now, and I went and contacted every one of my regular peers thinking easy. Not so much. I contacted all my peers by email, many by Facebook, some in textbook, some in Wimba, some by cell phone. And in some EMDT students who recently graduated, I reached out to them from the private groups on Facebook. In the end, all of the participants contacted, I had 4 to 5 participants total throughout my whole CBI phases, both 1 and 2. Since I needed to fulfill my requirements with only 4 participants, I counted it as a blessing and moved forward. To implement my phases for my challenge-based research, my target audience was provided with a CBI blog that I created for the purposes of authoring feedback for each other and to serve as an access point for challenges, compiling data submitted, and archiving data from student feedback like video, phone, instant message, and email. My extensive use of Blogger in Rena Hanaway and Joe Bastillo's courses allowed me an opportunity to see what I could do with blogging to streamline communication and data collection, as well as attach media to communicate with participants and submit training materials, something I studied more in detail in Michelle Haynes' course. Since research was conducted on remote instructors, CBI also occurred in its entirely remotely. This was contrary to what I thought it would be initially. I expected surveys, interviews, and any challenge assistance on my end to occur primarily face-to-face. This idea came up because initially I believed that inexperienced students would be overwhelmed by completely online time. This changed dramatically when my target audience changed. I determined that some educators were very technically savvy and enthusiastic about introducing something new for their students as well as their own development, but they had no time to implement. I addressed this with solutions based on the CBI pre-survey data. I also minimized price and training issues in my research by using low to no cost Web 2.0 or open source media. I addressed the technically challenged learner with a combination of video tutorials and accessibility to myself wherever needed as a training resource to assist with learning the media. Some educators incorporated the classroom body in a learning of technology wherever applicable. The decision of one over the other was largely dependent on the data from the pre-survey and dialogue with myself. This occurred mainly by cell phone calls, but largely by emails and postings to the CBI blog. My desire is to use the skills acquired in EMDT and the CBI on professional development to move into a position in instructional design and training of professionals. The most significant instructional design tool that I am attempting to integrate now is the Schoology interface studied in Dr. McBride's course. Though I could easily see the application for Dr. Siegel's gaming as a team-building exercise for corporate learning and instructional design on an education level. Should I find myself in a different employment arena, the skills presented and resources have afforded me many transferable skills that enhance the education that I have attained prior to Full Sail. As I have started off in art education, and the fact that the scope of the curriculum is naturally directed toward classroom instruction, the creative nature of these skills is obviously apparent. In addition to this, my freelance graphic design background has made Lisa Smith's coursework in Flash a dual asset, both in easing my learning curve with Flash for instructional and in graphic design. Well, hope you enjoyed the trip. But since commencement is around the corner, Now it's back to Jacksonville for me to prepare for my presentation. Oh, wait, this is it. Oh well. Ta-da!